How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Donald Trump's most recent comments on Twitter directed towards the so-called progressive Democrat congresswomen that the media and many on the left are labeling as racist. Now, there's a lot to unpack here, as the cool kids would say, but we got to start from the jump to explain what's happening. Now, Donald Trump made some comments that the media and many on the left are labeling as racist. The reason why they say it's racist is because they're misquoting him and they are mischaracterizing what he said. They're misinterpreting what he said because they are misquoting it and mischaracterizing it. Now, let's place the comments on the screen so we are on the same page and nobody can say that I am misquoting them to try and defend them. Let's read along. So interesting to see, quote unquote, progressive Democrat congresswomen who originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, the worst, most corrupt, and inept anywhere in the world, if they even have a functioning government at all, now loudly and viciously telling the people of the United States, the greatest and most powerful nation on earth, how our government is to be run. Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Then come back and show us how it's done. These places need your help badly. You can't leave fast enough. I'm sure that Nancy Pelosi would be very happy to quickly work out the free travel arrangements. Now, the media stops at the point where he says, why don't they go back and help? You know, they're stopping right there, okay? They're saying, basically, he's like, go back to Africa, go back to your country, get out of the country. And then they're taking that mischaracterization, misquoting, not telling you the full thing about where he said, you know, come back and show us how it's done, not leave forever. They're taking that and then they're making it be about white nationalism, racism, even sexism. Really ridiculous stuff. You know, of course, the Democratic congresswomen in question appear to be AOC and the squad. This, unfortunately for the Democratic Party, and fortunately for us, is going to be the face of the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party can't blame anybody else but the Democratic Party. They are now defending these people. AOC came out and she defended herself, basically calling them racist. Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar basically had tweets and things that said the exact same thing as AOC. Oh, you're a white nationalist, you're a racist. Nancy Pelosi came out and defended these women, talking about Trump's racist and the policies on the border are inhumane. I think LT said the same thing about the border policies. You know, oh, you got concentration camps on the border, all this, that, and the third. They're posting pictures comparing Auschwitz to what's happening right now. I don't know if that was anybody in Congress. It might have been the enforcement arm of the Democratic Party, which would be the media, the celebrities and whatnot, but I digress. So they're all basically calling Donald Trump and anybody that agrees with him a racist for saying a thing that most of us are already thinking, okay? If you think that you have the best idea for the nation, why don't you go back to where you came from? And let's be clear. Most of these women that could be in question here, the so-called progressive Democrats, they were born here, but let's not play no games. You're talking about Rashida Tlaib, where her parents come from, Palestine. She's a first-generation immigrant. AOC is from Puerto Rico originally. Her parents are. Yes, it is America, but, I mean, come on. That's not the same thing as being in the States. And then you have Ilhan Omar, who came from, I think, Somalia originally and became a citizen in 2000. And Ayanna Pressley, I think, is the only one that is not a first-generation immigrant who was born here or came here while they were already born. I think Ilhan Omar came here when she was 10 years old. So he may not have been accurate, and he cleared it up in a subsequent tweet talking about, I think they're all American citizens and they were duly elected. But his sentiment here is pretty clear, and it's what many of us are thinking. If you think that the policies of foreign places and also foreign countries that you look at as better are better, then why don't you go there and fix their problems, come back here, and then show us how it's done? The way things are going right now with the border, and all the pandering towards illegal immigrants, I can't tell if these people in the so-called progressive wing of the Democratic Party are Mexican citizens or if they are U.S. citizens. I don't know what's going on at this particular point in time. So you got a lot of problems over there in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Belize, Chile, wherever. You got all these issues over there. Why don't you go to those places, fix it, and then come back and tell us how we're going to get it done? All right. If you can fix the border problems, why don't you go down there and fix it rather than being like Cory Booker and going down there to, quote unquote, rescue some women that get deported from El Paso and sent to Juarez and bringing them back to El Paso. I got to say one thing about the whole idea of racism, because they talked about Donald Trump's statements as being racist. When I say they, I mean the Democratic Party, especially the squad, AOC and the crew. But they also talked about the border patrol people being racist, ICE being racist, and policies in general that say if you come into the country illegally, you're going to be detained until we can figure out what to do next. You know, deport you out, let you into the interior, or whatever the case may be. Many of the border patrol agents are Hispanic. I know at least 2 ICE officers, and they're both Hispanic. They could speak Spanish in the whole 9 yards. So I don't understand. Once you go down there and you see what's going on, you know it's not about racism. It's about trying to keep the country safe. It is what it is. You got plenty of Hispanic people that are maybe even first-generation immigrants who could speak fluent Spanish that are not down with the totally open borders, okay? Many of them came here to escape what is being allowed to come across the border with impunity, and they don't want to have those things that they were escaping to follow them. It's really simple. So, of course, they're going to be for a border that's secure. If America is so bad and it's so racist and it's full of white supremacists, then why does the Democratic Party want them to come here at all? A lot of their messaging is conflicting with each other, okay? The comments Donald Trump made aren't really going to move the needle for them one way or the other as it relates to what they think about the current administration or racism or sexism or any other obic they can imagine in their tiny little brains. So this whole thing really is a nothing burger. I don't think Trump necessarily had a long-term vision for what he was saying. I think it was more just about observing the basic thing. But then again, it could be some chess moves happening here, because what I see and what I saw from the very beginning as I close is the fact that Nancy Pelosi is forced now to defend the quote-unquote squad. The squad is going to be the face of the Democratic Party. Now, I said before that the squad does not have a lot of power. I mean, you get AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley. It's only 4 people, and usually they vote pretty much together, and they don't have a lot of following with them. But with things like this happening, you're basically circling their wagons, okay, to protect them from Trump and from anybody else. So what are you really going to do when you're constantly having to answer questions about them, when you're constantly having to defend them, and when you are constantly being pressured to go more over to the far left, which is where the squad wants to take the Democratic Party? They're going to move all the way to the far left, and those that are pretty much left on the island and have nowhere really to be are going to be easily taken up by the Republican Party, by conservatives, or by anyone else that is not on the left. They're going to lose traction nationally, and they know it. That's why Nancy Pelosi was fighting so hard to keep them from taking over. It's funny now that Pelosi is trying to defend these people against accusations of racism when just a few days ago they were saying that she was racist. That's hilarious. But hey, it is what it is. You're getting beat down in the court of public opinion by these people. Now you got to go defend them. It's really a shame, but hey, it is what it is. I enjoy seeing the Democratic Party melt down before my eyes, and I think we're going to see much more of that coming up in the 2020 presidential election, which will make the pathway to the presidency for Trump much easier than it was before. So that's pretty much all I got. What say you? Do you think that Donald Trump's comments were racist? To say, why don't you go back to your ancestral homeland, show them how it's done, come back to America and show us how it's done? Is that racist? Is that xenophobic? Is that transphobic, or whatever other over-ish they want to throw at you? Or is it not? You know where I stand pretty much. It's not any of those things. It's what most of us are thinking. You know, you want to talk about Mexico being so good and America not being good. You want to get rid of the American flag, all this, that, and the third. All right, if you feel that way, why don't you go somewhere else and have that country be as great as America? And if you can do that, and if you can achieve that goal, come back and show us how it's done. Give us the knowledge, give us the wisdom, give us a proper path on how to press forward rather than just crying, complaining, and screeching about all these other obics, and this. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.